Hey, good morning. Hey, Mark, good morning.
Morning, Joe. How you doing?
Oh, well, as you know, we're having troubles with this platform this morning, so we got a little bit of a difficulty. I see we have a few people there. Let me see if I can see who that is. Hey, Daryl, Mary, and so on. Yep, a lot of people came and went. The we are having some technical difficulties. So anyway, how you doing, Daryl? If you guys would type in the box there for me, to let me know that you can actually see or hear, not see, but hear us. And I'll type something in there, um, just so we can, and we'll just talk here this morning a little bit. But I wanted to let you know, I'm sorry about the difficulty we're having here. Platform went a little screwy today. But anyway, can you see on there, Daryl, that I wrote good morning on the chat box? Are you guys able to chat? Mary, Daryl, there's a couple other people on here. Let's see who that is. Yeah. Hey, Bob. I don't know which Bob that is. I'm assuming Bob K or Bob Biss. Don't know. Hi, Mary. Yep, you do hear me. Good. Hey, Daryl. Hey, Bob. Can you tell me which Bob that is? Yes. Good morning. All right. I'm glad that we're going to move this call to next week. But I know there's a lot of people, Mark, that are working. I got so many calls last week during the time that my computer went haywire with Microsoft 10, which was part of the problem again this morning here. Part of it, anyway. But I got so many actual phone calls about the director call. And it was about people saying, I heard somebody else do something they called a director call. Apparently, Mark, when we started calling it a director call a year or so ago, it's been a couple of years, somebody picked up on it and said, yeah, that's a good thing. Let's call it that. So, but they called and said, Joe, they're not saying what you're saying. You and Mark teach something, and we like that, and I don't understand why they are teaching what they're teaching. And I said, well, I don't know. Was it here? Was it a specific company? And they said, well, yeah. So we talked about it, and you know what? The most important thing to your success when you're looking for help is that director call, is that person who you can take someone to explain the business, to find out if you have a match. And I think most people, Mark, don't understand, what that call is for. And so I'm telling you, I must have got close to 10 phone calls last week about people doing three-ways for them and asking if we were available and so on, because they did some three-ways and they were disasters, and one of them was okay, but most of the people were talking about, trying to bond and talking about their families to a new prospect. And it was mind-boggling. So I thought we would next week, next Tuesday, actually do the anatomy of that call again for 2 weeks. The anatomy of the director call, part 1 and part 2. It's important that you understand this stuff, because we have people like, I'm sure that's Mary, who's working with 2 other people who are diligently practicing and learning how to do that, not only that call, but how to do the initial call, how to speak to someone that when they respond to your email or when they respond to a phone call or, someone you run into. And this is what we teach all the time, because it is the flaw of the system it is that people don't know how to tell their story properly or guide someone to tell the story and find out if you have an interested party. They just don't have an objective, Mark, when they make the phone call. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they are. And as everybody knows that listening is, our director, our class period teaches all that communication, how to get it right. I mean, imagine going to a new job at IBM and you walk into an office and they tell you to do the way to run the office or the way to work in this office to do this, and you just don't bother doing it. And then you got somebody in another department saying, no, don't do it that way, do it this way. Imagine the confusion. I promise you, you go to IBM and any of the departments, and they're going to run those departments, very similar. You're not going to have people saying, nah, don't do that, do this. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You're going to have them running smoothly. That's why they're successful. They're organized. And that's what lacks in this industry is the people are not organized and coordinated with their dialogue. What do you think about that, Mark?
Well, again, it goes back to what we've been saying all these months. I guess we say years, because it's in the second year of it, is that, again, if terminology and perception has to make sense, and you have to know how to connect with people, which is what's taught in the class. And we keep saying it and saying it. And if a person doesn't take advantage of that, then they just do what the rest of the industry does and what a lot of people do now, which is, they're saying the wrong things. And if you don't say the right things to the right people, you can't say the wrong things to the right people. But if you're doing that and you don't understand the anatomy of this call and you don't understand, the 5 parts of a call period, then you're in trouble. And that's why you got those calls, and that's why people are saying what they're saying. And the ones that you got the call from, they heard what they heard because they did not hear it properly. They just, again, a director call should not take any more than 3 to 5 minutes at the most, if you do it properly. Takes any longer than that, then you're probably not doing something right. And that doesn't change, Joe. It's that simple. That's about as simple as I can make it, because that's the way it works. It doesn't work any other way. I mean, you can't bring a person into your business, and our job is to get them to registration as well. You can't do that talking about snow in Denver. It doesn't work that way. Remember, it's a business call, and it's like you're interviewing that person. That's what it is. It's like an interview. It's not, you're not trying to, get friends with somebody, because, I have a saying that friendship ends where business begins. So I'm not trying to be somebody's friend when I'm on that director call. I am trying to interview them to see if we have the interested party and the right party, to see if we're going to lock arms for the next few weeks and see how things go. If things go well, we'll keep moving forward. If not, then we'll bid them farewell, and learn how to get out of it, gracefully. Who do you know? And if you haven't, those that have been through the class know what I'm saying. I'm only giving bits and pieces of it, but they know what I'm saying. But that's the only way that I know how to talk. And that once you take that class, that's the only way you should be talking. I can't make it any simpler than that, Joe.
And last week, you did an unbelievable job. We're echoing for some reason. We did an unbelievable job last night with describing that. And people need to go back and listen to that. I mean, seriously, listen to that to see, without taking the class, the foundation was there on that call. It was so exciting to listen to that last week. And, if people would just follow that, they just understand the simplicity of this. I mean, seriously, the simplicity is making that phone call with confidence. And the only way that's going to happen and have the simplicity is to know what you're doing. And make that phone call, step up to the plate, ask for the person, introduce yourself, tell them why you're calling, and if there is that interest right there, you schedule an appointment with them and then follow up or tie down that appointment and then follow up. But to find out if there's an interest, it takes just a couple of questions right in the beginning. If someone answered, if you call, look, there's different areas here. If you call cold and nobody knows you're calling, the person picks up, well, then you have to tell them why you called. And that reason for calling is different than the reason when they've answered one of your ads or emails or filled something out. It's a little different. It just says, well, the reason I called you, Bob, if this is a cold call, the reason I called was you were on one of my websites and I want to speak to you about managing a business from home. See, that's what people don't understand, that what they're really looking for is to find people that are interested in managing a business from home. You can't sit there and explain your whole company to not even finding out whether this person has any interest at all in listening at the moment. Are they interested in managing a business from home? That's what we do. We teach people how to do that. Now, if you're new and you don't teach people how to do that, it's because you're too new. So what you do is you work with a company and some directors who teach people. You're in training. So you can't say, I teach people. They're going to say, well, really, what do you teach them? And you get caught up in something that you would consider in your own subconscious to be a lie, because you really don't teach people, because you're not even teaching yourself. You're brand new, or you haven't learned the process yet. So you can't say to somebody, this is what I do. Now, if you take the route of the normal network and you say, well, I'm with a company that provides this, this, and this, and we're just, here's what why would anybody listen to that? I mean, you don't even know who that person is yet. So that cold call is different. So you tell them, the reason I called you. Now, it may be that you got a list. That means they were on a website. So you can say, I was on a website. You were on a website, one of our websites. But now the question would come up is, well, what website was I on? And did I really? And so on. And if you don't know how to answer that and you fumble, you're done. They will not pay any more attention to you, and they're going to go. So that's why you have to learn how to answer every question. What website was I on? Well, we work with several companies that provide us with names of people who at some point were interested in managing business. Frank, are you interested in managing business from home? See, if you can't do that, you don't make a phone call. Don't call cold. Honestly, do not call cold if you can't do that. If you can't answer that question effectively. I don't know how you're going to do it without getting to the class. Number two, if you answered something on a website, somebody filled out some information, they've already seen a video. Your whole reason for calling has just changed. Now they've seen something. The reason I called is you were on one of my websites, not, and you filled out some information. There's the difference right there. You filled something out. That's why I'm calling you. You showed an interest. I want to speak to you about managing a business from home with our company. I want to answer a few questions for you, but I have a few questions for you before we continue. And that's where you start your conversation. What do you do? How long you been doing it? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? At that point, guess where you're going? Guess where you go after you've asked those three questions? To the director. That's as simple as your phone call can be. 5 minutes to find out whether or not there's an interested party, and that's if they've answered something on your website. You don't have to send them anything else. You just got to get them over to a director who at this point should be qualified to be able to ask the right questions, to be able to say, what is it that John said that caused us to get together? In other words, what do you know about our company so far today? And that person will then tell the director whether or not they know anything. And if they don't know anything and say, well, I really wasn't on a website, I just skimmed it. Well, I can tell you right now, I wouldn't continue with that. I would very gracefully back away from it, ask them to look at it and get back together again. I mean, wouldn't it make sense to do that? Wouldn't it make sense to find out whether that person knew? Why would I get on there on a three-way call and start explaining the whole company when we have tools to do that? They do that on their own time. That shows the interested party. You're looking for people who are honest, ambitious, and work well with others. If they don't know what we're doing, how would we possibly, how could they possibly meet that criteria? Ambitious means go look up the information. Go to our website, take a look at it, and we'll get back together and see if we're on the same page. That's the kind of language that Mark taught last week. That's the kind of thing you have. That's the process for you to go. And it sounds so simple sitting here. Do you know why? Because I know it. And that can happen for anybody. You can sound exactly like this when you believe in what you're doing. It's not just a memorization. It's a belief. And what the problem, Mark, and I want you to comment on this, is that people don't believe they really have a business. They think they have something at home where they have to go talk to people and maybe convince them to be with you in your venture so you make more money. That is the belief in most people's heads in my 22 years experience here. Most people approach the business like that, as opposed to, okay, I've just opened my business. I'm opening doors today. What do I do today? Well, I have a full-time job, but I work Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. What do I do? You map out your plan, and part of that plan, in fact, 90% of it should be spent looking for an interested party. I don't care where you get the names from, phone books, lists, buy the leads. I don't care where you get them. Your focus has to be making the phone call, not sending emails and saying I'm connecting. Connecting means that you talked to the person and found an interested party. You should find minimum of 3 new people every single day that say I'm interested in listening to this. That doesn't mean they've come forward. It just means they're interested in following up with more information or talking to a director or registering with the company to get in tune, finding out what it's about. You do that by getting involved. That's how a new person starts their business. They register. While our process is you register with the company, you then register with Tools Rock, you take the class, and in the meantime, you're studying and learning how to make the contacts, how to connect with people. That's really where we are. But I think most people are sitting there, and their process is fumble through their papers, send some emails, see who responded, do some voice broadcasts, see who responded to that, which we know is not that effective in voice broadcasting. I mean, when I say not that effective, the numbers have to be much higher on a voice broadcast. Now, there's new systems we're using now. We won't get into it today, but the bottom line is, if you're not prepared, you might as well not make the phone calls. You might as well not be in business. You might as well stop pretending. Because that's all that's happening for most people when they don't get what they're doing. And unfortunately, there aren't many people that teach what Mark taught last week.
And John, let me say this right quick before we close too. And it's an experience that I had on was it yesterday? No, day before yesterday. No, it was yesterday. See, people are there. People are everywhere. People that you know, people that you meet, and here's the importance of the class. Now, I've been having some work done to my house, and so I had a guy over because my wife wanted to put a new fence around, and so the fencing people came in, and the guy called to reschedule the appointment or whatever like that, and was asking me about my time and whatever. And I love for people to ask me about my time. But so he said, well, I'm working like 60 hours a week. And what he's doing, he's doing giving estimates, for people that are building decks and fences and stuff like that. And I said, oh my goodness, 60 hours a week, huh? I said, you and I need to talk about that. I just said it like that. You and I need to talk about that. So quite naturally, that puts something on his mind. Why would he want to talk to me about that? So the guy comes in, does all the work that he does and everything like that. And I said, I'll walk out with you, And so I said, Jim, you mentioned to me that you work 60 hours plus a week. I said, well, let me ask you something. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? In other words, if, the next 5 years was like the last 5 years, do you see yourself getting ahead or behind? And he said, the company that he works for is a family company of over 45 years called Long Fence Company, very well known in the area that I live in. He has really no future, but continually working 60 hours a week. And I said, well, Jim, my company is in a major expansion, and we look for people who are honest, work well with other people, and they're ambitious. And are interested in having a business working from home. Have you ever had a business working from home? He said, no. And the conversation went from there. I won't go to all the rest of it because, you know, our time is about gone. But my point is, that's how you talk to people. And now, you know, I sent him some information. He said, yeah, I'm very interested. I'd like to talk to you about that. Why? Because he don't want to keep working 60 hours a week to build somebody else's business. And that's what we offer. You have, and that's why it's not a hobby, it's a business. And that's the way I approached him. I talked to him about his business, and then I approached him about my business and how my business can affect him, that he don't have to build somebody else's business. And that was interesting to him. And this guy probably makes, you know, he probably makes a couple thousand a week, because, you know, when you talk about thousands of dollars for fencing and decks and things like that, the commission on that is pretty good. So, you know.
You know what's interesting, Mark, is that it doesn't matter who you talk to. You sound the same no matter what. And that's what this has to be. This has to be exactly the same thing. You know what? It's just because that's what Mark believes. If you don't believe what, I mean, imagine doing what Mark, saying it the way Mark says it. Just imagine for a minute what it would be like for you with that kind of confidence. And you're not going to get that without knowledge. Confidence comes with knowledge, period. It's the only way you get it. By knowing what you're doing. And he knows what he's doing. As you can hear, he knows exactly what to do. And it all makes sense. When you have somebody standing in front of you, or you make the phone call, you see them at a store, a manager, an employee, it doesn't matter. The conversation is the same. Our company is under a major expansion. We are looking for people who are honest and ambitious and work well with others. You ever had a successful business from home, Frank? That's what we do. We teach people how to manage a successful business from home. Here's my number. Give me a call. This is if you're with someone, you don't want to have that conversation in the store. So you just do that. In other words, you don't want to have a full conversation. You just give them that information and walk. Get their information and then reconnect. But when if you don't have the knowledge, if you don't practice this stuff, I know Mary and Vicky are on the call, and it's amazing to me that they work together as hard as they work together. But I am going to hopefully meet with them this week. I told Vicky that last week, that I'm going to meet with them and run through a little test with them and see how they do. I know they're working together, the three of them. And they're diligent about it. I know, I can hear it all the time. I've not heard any of their dialogue. I just hear reports about it, that how good they're getting with it. And I'm hoping they're going to sound just like you, Mark.
I tell you, it's really, and here's the thing, it's fun. I mean, when you know it, you're confident, and it's a part of you, it's fun. And like I say, if they come in my house, they're not getting out without that type of conversation. And the thing is, you also have to be a good listener, because I listen to what they say, and it tells me what I need to say to them. And the only way that I know that is through taking the class. That's communication. You know, and like Einstein said, it's about training the mind. You know, and you train your mind to think a certain way and everything, and there it is. So it's not hard. It really isn't. It's just retraining the mind. And again, always remember, terminology and perception, it has to make sense. What you say to a person, the terminology that you use gives them a perception as to what you're talking about or what you want to talk about. And that's how it works. So
before we close, I'm going to say this. First of all, again, my apologies for this, having a platform problem this morning. However, the replay is full. You'll be able to go on the 13th, and hopefully we have a hangout for the 20th next week, because that is where it went today for some reason. So hopefully we'll be okay next week on the 20th. Since I opened and closed the 20th, now we're going to have, hopefully it's still going to be there. Okay, so that being said, I just want you to understand what it takes to get this off the ground. Whether you've been here a while and you don't feel satisfied, here's some stats for you. First of all, you should know what you're looking for, the quality of the person. You should know what the qualifications are. Mark said it 5 times today. I've said it 5 times, and it's in the class and so on. You should know when we're looking for people who are blank, blank, and blank. That's number one. Here's the other thing. It's going to take you 50 recruits, affiliates, partners to get one person who's going to work like you. 50. Now, that may sound like a high number. It just happens to be an industry statistic. For every 50 people in your organization, you will be fortunate to find that one who's going to progress, learn what it takes to be successful, and move the business forward. And you're looking for that person all along. So it's not just an interested party in the beginning to get them registered. Now, of all the people you bring in, which one is going to be the one who actually steps forward, who follows, who listens, who takes a class, who learns communication and go builds the business? Now, if you're fortunate enough, maybe you grab somebody that already knows all that, and they see your company as the best one out there, and they're going to register with you and say, get out of my way, I'll go build it. You'd love to do that if they know what they're doing. Unfortunately, we have people who think they know what they're doing and say, get out of my way, and then they're gone in 2 months because they don't know how to operate it. We've been through that a million times, uplines and downlines alike. Same thing with uplines. They'll tell you they know what to do, and they'll bring people in, and they'll go do stuff with them and send them here and there, tell them what to do, call all your friends, and within 6 weeks they're gone because they don't have any foundation for communication. That's the problem. So with that, sorry again about the delay this morning. Again, this is on the replay. You might want to spread that around. If you get your link for the replay, you can send it to people, or you can just go to YouTube. You should get a link after this. If you're registered, you like this, you get a link that's showing you the replay, and it'd be a good idea to pass it around. But I can tell you right now, after 20-some years, and between Mark and I both were probably 40 years of this business, and we know you're not going to get anywhere without educating yourself. You're not going to have any changes unless you change. You change your dialogue, you change your approach, and you start acting like you have a business and start treating it like a business. And the first step is to get educated. Now, for most of the people that are here that have been on the communication class, great. Get your people to do that. Our process is register with the company. Number 2, register for Tools Rock. Number 3, get in the class. All should happen within the first week. If people are with you and they've been with you a long time and they want to continue, ask them, do you really want to continue? If you do, we need to take this class. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Mark, I guess you want to say something before we go, but thanks for being here, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, and hopefully that link works next week.
Well, again, peace and blessing to everyone. Get ready for next week, and get your people that, your partners that's on your team, get them to the Breakfast Club next week for what we're going to be doing when we do that for the next couple of weeks, because it's very important. And we're in the season now that people are looking. They're ready to do some things, and they're looking for the right thing to do, and they're looking for something that they don't have to chase anybody or beat them up about, and that type of thing. We're not talking about lotions and potions. We're talking about probably the greatest product that's out there. We have it, and we just need to attract the right people, but we have to know how to do that. So with that being said, peace and blessings. Go out, make it a great day, make it a great rest of the week. And like I say, bring a partner back to the Breakfast Club with you on next Tuesday at noon, and let's see if we can really help them and help you really get it going. That being said, this is Mark Stevenson, our host, Joe Shue. Peace and blessings, everybody. Make it a great day.